Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to have a discussion on the energies of Pluto Retrograde in Capricorn beginning on April 29th, 2022 at 28 degrees 35 minutes of Capricorn, traveling back to 26 degrees and 7 minutes of Capricorn until October 9th. So this Pluto retrograde phase will cover 26, 27, and 28 degrees of Capricorn in your natal astrology chart. And this actually syncs up with some other strong energies from 2020 as well as 2021. So we're going to discuss all of that and more in today's podcast episode. And as always, I invite you to look at your own natal astrology chart to understand more of where these Pluto themes and energies are working with you personally. Pluto typically goes retrograde for half of every calendar year. And so we go through the opening up of new astrological degrees as Pluto moves forward into new territory, which has been the case in 2022. And then the retrograde brings us back into deeper understandings of those energies. And the Pluto energy is connected to your soul growth, evolution, transformation, permanent changes that you're ready to make in this lifetime. And because Pluto travels so slowly, Pluto doesn't go through all of the degrees or all the houses in your astrological chart in your lifetime. So there's something very intentional about when we incarnate and we have these Pluto energies working with us deeply and personally. It signifies that we're really doing some deep level work in a particular house or area of ourselves that Pluto is requiring our energy and attention on. The Pluto energy goes deep. It goes deep into our unconscious and our subconscious. It goes deep into our psyche and our fears. It brings up things within us that can be very significant, intense, and big. And it can feel like that Pluto energy pulls us down into the depths of ourselves that we haven't met before. And that is certainly the case whenever Pluto is working with your own chart more personally. So in regards to this particular retrograde phase, if you have planets or points at 26, 27, or 28 degrees of the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, you're really feeling this deep transformation that you're undergoing. And if you have planets or points at 26, 27, or 28 degrees of the earth signs, specifically Taurus or Virgo, then you're also experiencing a deep transformation, but it's through a trine. So that can be more supportive. You could feel that you're ready for something and that it doesn't feel like quite a struggle. But the Pluto energies require us to go in to the hidden caves which have existed within us and have energetically traveled with us across multiple lifetimes. So with the Pluto themes, we really go into deeper understandings around our soul growth, our evolutionary process, the parts of ourselves that we're perhaps understanding or seeing for the first time. But think of this as when Pluto stations retrograde, it's similar to having to enter into a dark room, and it takes a minute for your eyes to adjust. And it takes time to understand what you're feeling and sensing because you're no longer relying on only your conscious mind or your typical senses. Now you're relying on much more within you. You're going deeper into the intuitive messages, what you're feeling, what you're sensing. And sometimes what comes up first are those fears around what you can't see, what you can't touch, being out of your comfort zone. The fears come up and they can catch us off guard when these energies are working with us very personally And it can also feel like something is overpowering you. And one of the gifts of Pluto is that we embark upon a very intense transformation process, but it can be wildly uncomfortable and take you to more of yourself that you're meeting for the first time, especially when the Pluto retrograde is going across degree points that Pluto has not retrograded across before, which is the case here from April until October 2022. So we are going into new depths within ourselves. And again, you'll feel it more personally if Pluto is interacting with any of these 3 degree points in your chart. If Pluto is not interacting with you personally, then you're still going to be tuned into this energy, feeling it and sensing it. It just won't be as significant for you and it won't feel as overwhelming. But we all feel these energies to some extent. We are all working with them. And again, if it's working with you personally, it's because there's something about your energy that is ready to transform. It's literally right on time in terms of that soul perspective of this is the lifetime where you wanted to take on something within your own energy and bring it up into your conscious awareness. There's something that you're transforming, you're moving through, you're shifting, but there can be a lot that comes up. In fact, with Pluto, everything comes up. Everything can be brought up to the surface. So during this particular 6-month retrograde, this Pluto in Capricorn is basically asking us to pull back into our power, to look at where we have perhaps extended ourselves energetically or otherwise, and to understand how it's time to truly look at something and go deeper into it. That Pluto in Capricorn has been working with us intensely since 2008, 2009, and now it's reaching the end of the Capricorn degree points. And as Pluto works deeply with these degree points, so we're working with 26, 27, 28 degrees of Capricorn, there's an energy here of finishing up, completing, understanding what this particular phase in your life has been about, where you're meant to be on your purpose, on your mission, on track. Pluto wants you to feel empowered to be yourself in the world, to feel a direct alignment with your professional gifts and abilities, with understanding the best career trajectory that's correct for you, with really harnessing in where you feel empowered to be yourself in the world. And these Capricorn energies are very much about how we show up, the commitments that we need to honor, the responsibilities that we are here to stay on track with. Pluto in Capricorn is getting you in touch with more of your own true essence. But because it's Pluto, that means things that are not correct for you have to go. They're meant to expire or fall away. They're meant to be complete for you because they're no longer going to help you move forward, and they're not truly honoring your own personal energetic sovereignty or authority. And that's what this Pluto in Capricorn is showing us. So this can certainly be something where you've moved through many different jobs, you've had different professions, different things you've tried out because you're trying to find or be in alignment with that correct fit for you. And it's also showing you where you have a natural, empowered sense of self. But again, the things that don't fit, that don't connect, they're not going to last. They're going to fade away. They're going to dissolve. And in fact, they just won't even be connected to your aura or your energy field because they're not in alignment with your soul's gifts, your soul mission, and what you're here to contribute to the world at large. Capricorn wants us to show up in our own empowerment and in our own authority, honoring what we've developed and moved through across multiple lifetimes. So as Pluto goes retrograde, we can start to become more aware of what is not in alignment with ourselves anymore. And you could have a clear understanding of where you're done with something, where it's complete for you, where you're tired or exhausted by it. In fact, I did 2 podcast episodes for you in July 2021 about the soul exhaustion we feel with Pluto and how it's the parts of ourselves that can feel very world weary and that we just don't know how much more we can do, how much more we can endure. Because again, that Pluto in Capricorn will work us to the max, but this can be energetically, although you might be feeling that in your profession, in your career, there could be something that you're just feeling is no longer rising in your energy. It's not uplifting you. It's something that needs to shift or change. It's something that you're ready to see in a new way and make some very clear decisions around it. Now that Capricorn energy plans for the long term and assesses what is going to be effective, what's going to make an impact, what is truly of use. And during a Pluto retrograde, we basically internalize those questions about our life direction, about what we're doing every day, because it's what we do every day that creates our overall life experiences, expertise. It's how we're essentially using our energy every day. And what is that doing for you? And so this Pluto retrograde is going to bring up some big questions, bring some things to your awareness around what your energy feels supported by, or where you feel drained, where you feel exhausted, where you feel empowered and on track, or perhaps where you feel like something's missing or you're ready for that new direction or that next step. And the way Pluto works is that we make permanent life changes. So over this 6-month span of time, you could be seriously considering where you're ready to make some serious permanent changes in the Capricorn areas of your chart. Now, wherever transiting Pluto in Capricorn is moving through your natal chart by house is where this energy is asking you to dive in and go deeper, especially because these are new degree points for this particular Pluto retrograde. But let me give you some dates to work with in case there's things that were significant for you in the previous 2 years. So Pluto first reached 26 degrees of Capricorn back in March 2021 until June 2021, and then returned to 26 degrees in January of this year. So you could think back about a year ago and look at what you were deciding, putting into place, maybe moving towards creating or building, and looking at if that is still true for you and if it's still in alignment. Now, this 26 degree point is important because it's the degree that Pluto is revisiting, whereas Pluto is brand new to 27 and 28 degrees of Capricorn. So what we have is Pluto basically taking us back to March and June 2021 and assessing what we changed or implemented at that time and asking us to go a little bit deeper in making sure it is still where you want to commit to and where you want to be responsible for. And I know it takes time to think back a year ago, but again, what you're looking at is where this transiting Pluto in Capricorn is in a particular house in your chart, because it's that house where this is all permanently changing and shifting for you. This is where you're undergoing a very big transformation, which is always the case with Pluto. Now, the other significant energy to pull in here actually involves 2020, because back in 2020, Saturn was in Capricorn at this territory in your chart between 26 to 28 degrees of Capricorn from February to March 2020. Then Saturn retrograded and was again at these degree points July, August, and November of 2020. So when we think about Saturn in Capricorn, especially back in 2020, well, Saturn was about the rules, what needed to be implemented, what needed to be in place. And of course, it doesn't even seem that long ago when we think back to how 2020 was when COVID started, was when there were the quarantines and mandates and a lot coming down and a lot that was implemented about the rules and how we were meant to move through society and what we needed to do with the spread of COVID and everything that went along with it. Now, also in 2020, astrologically speaking, we had Jupiter in Capricorn, and Jupiter covered these same degree points, 26 to 28 degrees of Capricorn, from April to June 2020, and then again in December 2020. Now, Jupiter in Capricorn was really highlighted by the term an abundance of caution and coming through with what would be a little bit more conservative, what were the right decisions and choices to make. So that Jupiter in Capricorn basically amplified the experiences we went through in 2020. So what I'm getting at here with this particular Pluto retrograde is that a part of it is bringing up what we went through in 2020, reassessing it, but Pluto destroys, Pluto removes, Pluto permanently changes what Saturn wanted to get firmed up and clear, and whatever Jupiter was focused on, and how Jupiter is designed to bring in the benefits and hopefully give us a long-term picture. Well, here comes Pluto tearing all that down, destroying it, and bringing up new questions, bringing up more to think about or understand, asking us to dive deeper into these parts of our charts that, again, Saturn and Jupiter covered in 2020. And so when you apply this to your career, your profession, anything that you need to take care of in the world, it could have been that the choices and decisions you were making back then in 2020 were perfect for that version of life and that version of our reality. But now here comes Pluto, and it's saying that some of this stuff can't last forever. It's meant to change. It's meant to evolve. It's meant to move us forward. And there could be new decisions that you're revisiting that you thought were really clear, that you thought, this is it. This is the answer. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to stick with. Well, with Pluto coming through, we see things in a new way, in a deeper way. Pluto brings in more intensity, more emotion. Pluto also brings in the angst and the discomfort of change and the discomfort of even being overwhelmed by very big energies. So it's almost like what we had implemented in 2020, well, all of that is going through this very deep churning process, turnover process, and it's going to take us somewhere new that we don't even know yet, we don't even see yet. So this energy could be helpful for you to look at, again, where you have 26, 27, 28 degrees of Capricorn in your chart by house placement, because now this is being reworked again, and this is where you could even have exhaustion. So just giving the example of a job. Let's say you had to make some professional changes back in 2020 and you thought it would last, you thought it would stick. And now here we are a few years later and you're realizing, well, that wasn't it. That wasn't the right fit. That's not what I want to continue to do, or this isn't what I want to continue to commit to. And so Pluto is now bringing up these deeper questions, these deeper revelations for you to work with that could show you more of what is true for you and something that you want to move towards, even if previously it wasn't on your radar, it wasn't something you thought of, it wasn't an option. Pluto is bringing us into more within ourselves so that we can see something clearly. And this certainly involves the darker parts of ourselves, meaning the shadow parts, our fears, our wounds. This certainly brings up anything that's been unresolved. Pluto also shows us parts of ourselves that have been on autopilot, where we didn't look at something or challenge it. And then this evolutionary energy comes in and opens you up to more within yourself that could be surprising, catch you off guard, help you see some of your own unconscious patterns and habits and routines, things that you thought were working fine in your life. And now Pluto is basically showing you everything that's not working. And that's a bit how Pluto works. And what I've observed through my own experiences and through the various clients I've worked with through the years is that the first time that Pluto moves to certain degree points, it's the hardest hit, meaning it's the biggest energy that comes through, or something really significant happens, or something comes up, comes through, and it's like this wham, and it's an energetic overwhelm, or it's something really big. And that's how Pluto kind of makes its presence known. That's how Pluto can work with us. It can be so confusing, especially if you're not aware of what's going on in your astrology chart. But the Pluto energy really wants to catch your attention and understand something that was hidden deep within your psyche. And it could feel like it pulls you under, it pulls you into that cave, pulls you into the underground world all of a sudden, and is a lot to handle or a lot to deal with. And what I've observed is that that's usually the first pass of Pluto across a degree point. Then when Pluto retrogrades, the energy is still there, but now you're already in the cave, or you're already in that underground world, and your eyes are starting to adjust. Your energy is starting to adjust to the new stimuli, or to what to focus on, or what's getting your attention. And it can show you more of what you're dealing with here. And then as Pluto will station direct in October, then the energy moves forward again, and it can feel like you have a better understanding of the energy, what's going on, what's moving through you, what's coming up. And that's where you start to step into that new sense of power and deeper understanding of what you're working with. The Pluto energies remind me of the story of Persephone and Hades, where Persephone, who is the daughter of Demeter, was essentially out in the fields collecting flowers and was kidnapped by Hades because of her beauty, her innocence, her purity, even her naivete. And she was brought into the underworld by Hades, which is the Pluto archetypal energies. And that Hades energy showed her more that she wasn't even aware of. She didn't know it existed. She had no idea this whole world was right below her feet. And so she was abducted and held captive by Hades for what turned out to be 6 months of the year. And while she was in the underworld, she started to understand more of the psyche of Hades and what was going on here. And essentially, she became empowered by her exposure to this underground world. She started to see how more things operated and what was hidden under the surface and how that pertained to her own experiences. Then 6 months later, after being held in this underworld, Persephone was released by Hades and returned to the light of day. She was brought back up to the surface of the earth, and she had been permanently transformed because she had met these underground energies that she never knew existed. And how the myth continues to unfold is that Persephone then became comfortable traveling to the underground energies and back up to the light. And she was equipped to do so. She was able to develop the necessary skills to go into those energies while then returning back to the Earth's surface. And this became one of her superpowers. In fact, she was one of the only mythological energies that could traverse between the light and the dark. She was equipped to do so. And it is certainly a beautiful way to understand the journey from our own light into our own dark and back up again into our psyche and back into our conscious awareness. It's the journey of continually going into energies within ourselves to not be afraid of them, to face them, to own them, to understand this is a part of who we are. And that contributes to our empowerment. That contributes to knowing ourselves and understanding what we can do with these energies. And so Persephone became a very powerful messenger and a very powerful traveler between the light and the dark realms. And this is something that Pluto retrogrades equipped us with, where we can now go into parts of ourselves that we haven't met before, but consciously see them and work with them and know that we're ready. There's something that's always right on time, especially from an evolutionary standpoint, where there's something you're diving into, you're meant to see in yourself and work with and work through, and to not forget that your power travels with you. Your choices travel with you, and the wisdom of your soul travels with you, even when you go through that Pluto turmoil that is always a part of a very deep transformation process. So from April, the end of April 2022 until October 7th, 2022, we are going deeper into ourselves to look at what we're ready to truly see at a deeper level, how we can honestly claim something for ourselves that maybe we didn't understand before. You could be meeting parts of your own energy that were repressed or suppressed, parts of yourself that maybe you haven't felt connected to. And this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn is asking you to really go into new ways to empower yourself, even when you don't have all the answers, you don't know how it's going to play out. It's a bit like this Pluto brings up really big what ifs and questions and things that we don't quite grasp or understand. But there's always something that Pluto wants to connect you with so that you can travel with it going forward. And depending on where Pluto and Capricorn is transiting in your astrology chart is where this energy is going to show up for you. So in the first 6 houses, house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is the energy of personal development. These are the houses about your sense of self, how you're knowing yourself, understanding more of who you are, really getting into what you're capable of, what you're good at, and what you're ready to claim from that place of understanding more of your own gifts and abilities. Now, if Pluto and Capricorn is moving through houses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in your chart, these are the houses connected with other people in the outer world. So essentially energies outside of you. And if that is the case for you, then you could have someone in your life who is reflecting back to you a Pluto archetype. You might have opportunities then to really demonstrate your power, to make some big life choices, to understand more of how your authority and your power is affecting other people. So I do advise looking at the particular house that this transiting Pluto is working within you and in your chart, because that's going to help you connect some dots around what you're permanently transforming and how you're evolving this energy. There is typically an excavation process that happens when Pluto is retrograde, meaning you're being shown what needs to leave, what is complete, what needs to change, what needs to finish. And Pluto can bring up those internal power struggles that we have, especially if we're trying to hold on to something or if we want it to be on our terms. There's an energy here, though, that could be pushing you to see things differently, to understand it in a new way, or even to trust that something is completing and ending even when you don't see the new solution or the next answer just yet. And that's where the Pluto energy requires us to go into a deepening of trust, trusting there is going to be an answer. There is going to be a next pathway. There is going to be the next manifestation in a particular area of your life, but it doesn't always show up immediately, because part of that excavation that Pluto requires is really getting to the bare bones of something, really getting to the heart of it, the truth of it, and asking you if this is still related to your truth. Is this still related to your energy? Is this still connected to what you want and how you feel empowered? And chances are you're going to feel some things. It could be like that push and pull, the tension, the back and forth, because of how Pluto in Capricorn is often where we want to do things on our own terms. our own life direction and purpose, but you could have a sense that something's expiring, that it is not meant to travel with you going forward, especially because Pluto is approaching these final degrees of Capricorn. Now, Pluto is going to go back and forth across that 29 to 0 degrees point. So 29 degrees of Capricorn and 0 degrees of Aquarius into 2024, which is this very interesting transition between what we've understood is true for us in our profession, in our career, in our soul mission, our soul purpose, like why you're even in a body in this lifetime. Capricorn is the third and final earth sign. It's the culmination of our earthly abilities, our earthly and physical realities, and what we're doing to create a life that embodies what we're about and what matters to us. I mean, that third earth sign is a peak of this is what I want to do in the world. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm able to contribute and how I want to show up. And if you're not in alignment, if there's something that needs to shift or change for you, the universe is going to make it really clear. Because as Pluto moves into Aquarius, that's a different energy around the collective. That's certainly opening up to even more that we can create both individually and for the betterment of humanity. And also understanding more of the bigger picture of what we can do on the planet in this lifetime. So I feel like this Pluto in Capricorn is ensuring that you're really truly connected to your life direction at a soul level. And if you're not, then there's going to be some things that come up that reveal that to you, that show you more of what's working, what's not working, and ask you to make some bigger life choices around how you can be on the best possible path for yourself in this lifetime. Pluto in Capricorn also brings up consequences, karma, choices, things that we're ready to finalize and complete, especially as Pluto in Capricorn will reach that 29 degrees of Capricorn in early 2023. So I feel like there's something about this retrograde phase that could ask you some serious questions that you're actually ready for, even if they feel life-changing. And that is a Pluto term, life-changing, permanent, big, significant endings and beginnings that can also take a lot to work through. So again, these energies are going to be bigger for you if you have any planets or points at 26, 27, or 28 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, because those cardinal signs are feeling this the most. It has the most intensity and pressure. It's energies that your soul is ready to work with, and it can throw off our human faculties. It can throw off what we thought we were on target for. And then again, if you have planets in the earth signs of Taurus and Virgo, then this Pluto in Capricorn is making a trine. And that means you're ready for this transformation. At a soul level, at a personal level, that trine is supportive. It says that you're evolving to another stage, another experience, something else is moving you forward, ready or not, it's happening. And usually that Pluto in Capricorn can bring up all the gunk, all the unresolved stuff. It can show you what needs to shift and evolve. But the trine to the earth signs can ultimately feel invigorating, can feel like, yes, I'm clearing out, I'm getting rid of it, and I want this transformation. There's something that I'm on target for here that is really going to help me going forward. And the other important thing to note is that this particular retrograde coincides with the USA Pluto return, because in the USA chart, that is a retrograde Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn, 32 minutes And that just so happens to occur right after the USA's July 4th Independence Day holiday, where Pluto will actually be at 27 degrees 32 minutes retrograde on July 11th and 12th. So July will be a big time in the USA's energy and in the world at large. This also will show us more of what first started in February of this year, which is when the Russian-Ukrainian war began. So that is probably going to be amplified. There's going to be more energies around that. And this is when the USA's energy will really become bigger in terms of the Pluto return themes. So just a heads up about that. On a more spiritual level, this Pluto retrograde can also bring up themes from other lifetimes. It can bring up things that you just weren't aware of. You didn't see certain patterns playing out in your life. You didn't see certain things that you were attracting or bringing in, because Pluto can also be that magnet, that unconscious magnet of what we are creating and manifesting in our lives. And so this Pluto energy can show you what you've been attracting or pulling in. And then the retrograde brings up the questions of, is this a fit for me? Is this in alignment with who I am now? And I feel like one thing that we go through with the Pluto retrogrades is something feels like a loss. Something feels like it's leaving, it's over, it's permanently ending. And there can be grief, there can be mourning and sorrow and melancholy that comes up. And we can even feel it at a cellular level. It can feel that deep and that significant that something is really clearing out and leaving your existence. And it can be something that is even painful at times. And that's just all part of this Plutonic energy experience where we are designed to keep evolving. And that includes being aware of what needs to go and what needs to end in our lives. So that feeling of loss can be bigger during the retrograde. And then when Pluto stations direct and goes forward, then it can feel like you're gathering back in the energy, calling back in what you're ready to create and manifest next, where you're ready to move forward, and what is more of an energetic fit now. This particular retrograde is a good time to look at the Capricorn areas of your life and assess if it's really in alignment with what you want, your expertise, where you feel empowered, if it's truly something that is your correct life direction, soul mission, soul purpose. And if you're feeling a no, if you're asking these questions and you're getting a surfacey yes, but in the depths of your being, you feel a no, then Pluto is an invitation to go into more of that energy, to go into that no, so that you can be aware of it, consciously work with it, and understand that there's a reason why you're receiving that message. This can also be an amazing time of trusting your own intuition, going into more of what you're feeling and sensing that maybe it didn't make sense to your logical mind, or it didn't seem to fit in your life or in your energy. Pluto is going to show you more of what you're ready to release and let go of, what you're ready to transform. But there's always a reason why. There's always something else that's meant to come through. There's always something else that's going to show up. And even if you don't see it right away, this is where you can trust your intuition, where you can trust if something is a no for you, or if you're also seeing some of your biggest life themes, like the biggest parts of your life experiences that have formed you and shaped you. Again, anything around patterns and habits and things you've just always done. Pluto can push us to see what no longer works, to face ourselves, to face the reality of our lives, to face the parts of ourselves that maybe we didn't want to look at, we weren't ready to see. Something within ourselves is ready to transform, but it might not have that feel good energy right away. Instead, it can bring you down into more of your own soul's experiences that have been unconscious. So this is a beautiful time for anything that takes you into those places where you can access your subconscious or your unconscious. You can access more of your energy and your intuitive abilities. because there are messages there. And you can see that as perhaps a gift of going into the underworld, of going into more of what resides within you and being willing to see it or hear it in a new way. And honestly, this is where you could have some beautiful understandings of what you want to change in your life and in yourself, what you want to change in your energy. Again, what you're complete with, you're done with it, no more. You don't even want to put energy towards it. And Pluto is revealing this to you so that you can make some new choices and truly be in your power going forward, even though it's not always a fast process. And that's also where we can feel the angst and the anxiety, is that it can be really uncomfortable hanging out in the unknown or feeling like you're just sitting in the dark and you don't even know what you're waiting for. But this is a bigger, slower transformational process that's designed to stick. It's designed to last. It's not something we rush through and get quick results. Rather, it's something that permanently changes us internally. And then that's how we start to experience new manifestations and understandings in ourselves and in our lives. Now, I discuss Pluto from this spiritual angle and from the evolutionary standpoint. There's a lot more that Pluto is related to. And there are some really good books out there about Pluto. I recommend Donna Cunningham's book about Pluto called Healing Pluto Problems, if this is an energy that you're working with more personally at this time. There are also a number of books out there discussing more about how you can understand Pluto in your own chart and in your own life. Books by Jeff Green, Mark Jones, and a number of other astrologers who have written specifically on these topics. So please check those out if you're wanting to do more of a deep dive. Ultimately, it's always your choice to determine what you believe about these energies, what you believe about them working with you, how they are showing up in your life as well as in yourself, and also whether you're choosing to believe that this can support you, that this is about empowerment, and that it's ultimately happening for your best and highest good. It certainly may not feel like that in the moment, and that would be very understandable. And I can certainly relate to that. I've had Pluto working with me since 2006 and has basically changed every part of my life, so many parts of myself, and it's always been worth it. I've always had a gratitude towards Pluto, especially after the fact, and especially as I've practiced just going with it, not resisting it, not trying to fight it, not trying to stop a evolutionary process that's necessary. So the more we can be in that frame of mind, the easier it can be to work with these energies as they work with us. So as always, thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast episode. I will be back every Wednesday and Monday for a new episode as we continue to discuss these very big astrological energies that we're moving through together. I hope this information has provided insights into where you can connect the dots in your own life, including back in 2020, and what you're ready to do now, to do differently, to do in a new way. Ready or not, it's changing, and Pluto is supporting us in ensuring that we're never bored, we're never stuck. There's always something more we can understand about ourselves, and always new ways that we can connect with our soul's innate energies. I look forward to connecting with you soon in another podcast episode. In the meantime, I wish you a beautiful journey into your own Pluto realms, and I'll see you back here soon.